Hello, how are you doing? I hope you're really well. This week I thought we could just curl up on the sofa and have a bit of a bookish chat. Not talked about books for a little while. The weather outside at the moment in the UK is really, well, I guess typical British weather, but it's dark, it's windy, it's been really cold, so the sweat has come back out. So I'm going to do the old YouTube thing of grab yourself a drink and we'll settle down. I've got like to say it's coffee, but I only have one coffee a day in the morning, and I have banana milkshake because I am 5 years old. Anyway, let's talk books. So if you've seen any of my videos before, you'll know that it's very rare that I buy books at full price. Maybe if I've got money for my birthday or something like that, but usually I get them either secondhand from the charity shop, or I wait until they come for 99p on the Kindle. I do prefer to read a physical book, in all honesty, but I can't always get the ones that I want at the charity shops. I have to keep looking. So quite often they are on the Kindle, because very often you get quite new books and new titles on the 99p deals if you look. So as sad as it may seem, every month on the first of the month, when the new Kindle books, the new Kindle deals come out, my treat to myself is that I'll get my breakfast and a coffee, and I'll sit in bed with my Kindle and I'll scroll through all of the 99p deals. And I look forward to that every month. It's the small things, isn't it? You've got to enjoy the small things in life. So yeah, I'll go through, and there might be one or two books that I want there to treat myself to each month. This month was actually one of those months where I don't think I bought one for July. I think all of them that I was interested in, I've bought already. But in recent months, I have bought a few, so I thought you might be interested to see which ones I've bought. And I would be really interested to know of any book recommendations, if you can give me recommendations when you see the kind of books that I like to read, which is maybe quite dark, I guess. Dark, fantasy related, anything that's not based in reality, I guess. I'm not so keen on the books that are modern day books. I'm not so keen on the romance books. I don't mind if there is romance in a book. I don't want a book that's about romance. So I guess the books that I prefer are anything that's got a lot going on. I like to have a lot going on in a book. I like twists and turns and things that I'm not expecting and things that make me gasp. I like, I guess, the darker side of books. I don't like horror. But having said that, I guess there are quite a lot of books on my Kindle that would be classed as horror. But I like fantasy. Anything that's going to take me out of the real world, that's what relaxes me. So I'll just go through a few of the ones that I've bought recently on my Kindle that I've managed to get on the deals. As I go through, I'll put the ones that are on the Kindle. Obviously I haven't got the physical book, so I'll put the book here. So I bought The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. It's a book that I don't really know a lot about. I know it's her only novel, other than poetry. I know it's her only novel, and it's kind of loosely based on her life. And it's just something that I've always wanted to read but never got before it came up on offer, so I thought that I'd get it. Another one that I bought, I think this one was on this month's Kindle, actually, the Kindle deal, so it might be on at 99p, and that's A Far Wilder Magic by Alison. So I've been wanting to read that for a while as well. That's been on my list for a while. Also, A Study in Drowning. Let me know if you've read any of these, but please don't give me spoilers because I'm probably not going to get around to them yet. And I bought this one, Wood Witch. That's because I've recently read Hedge Witch and really enjoyed it. Although it's a middle grade book, it was a lot of fun to read. So I thought I'll go on to the next one, which is Wood Witch. Bought Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw because I read Wicked Deep and really enjoyed that. So I'm really hoping that Winterwood is equally as enjoyable. And then I bought a few books. There's a few together, and the series is The House Witch. But there's, and I don't know if these are in the right order, but there's The House Witch, When the Cat Spells War, The Charming of Austice, it's spelled Austice, and The Enchanting of the Hearth. So that's three books that go together, and I've bought them over the last few months when I've spotted them on the Kindle at 99p. So now I've got the full set of three. So I'm hoping to read those in the autumn time. I keep saying with a lot of my books that I'm going to save them for the autumn time because I tend to be quite a seasonal reader. So in summer, I try to read light and summery books, and in the autumn and winter, I sort of read the darker books. But I found that I'm not getting around to all of my books because a lot of them are more that spooky season type book. So I've started reading some of them now in the summertime as well, because life's too short not to read the books that you really want to read. I also bought Bellman and Black. I read 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield and I really, really enjoyed it. So as soon as I saw this book, I got that one. And I also got this Holly Black book, The Coldest Girl in Town, which looks like the great kind of spooky theme that I look for. So books that I'm reading at the moment or I'm going to read through the summer, I tend to only get through a book a week. I don't get through more than that. Sometimes it takes me 2 weeks to get through a book. It depends on the book. But the ones that I'm intending to read over the next few weeks through the summer, the first one is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. Now, I read this one last week. Absolutely loved it. Really, really loved it. I don't give book stars, but 5-star read. Really enjoyed this one. It was twisty turny, it was thrillery, it was everything really that I wanted in a book. It wasn't spooky, it was more murder mystery. But yeah, absolutely loved that book. Don't want to accidentally give spoilers, so I'm going to just read the synopsis from Amazon. Everyone believes that Lenora Hope is a mass murderer. When the Hope family were massacred years ago, she was the only one left after the tragic night. Mute, paralysed, and confined to a wheelchair, Lenora has never been able to tell her side of the story until her new living caregiver, Kit, brings her a typewriter. And with one working finger, Lenora begins to type, "I want to tell you everything." I enjoyed it so much that I decided to straight away go into another Riley Sager book, and this one is Home Before Dark. I've only just started to read this one, so I'm only like a couple of chapters in, so I can't really tell you what this one's like at the moment, but I can read you what it's about. This one is a bit more spooky, a bit more ghosty than the other one. Clever, twisty, and altogether spine-chilling. A deliciously terrifying story. You'll want to read this one after dark, ideally with the wind whistling in the eaves and the windows banging somewhere just out of reach, but keep the light switch handy, you just might need it. Now, I did start reading this the other night in the dark in my room and very quickly decided after one chapter that I was not going to be reading this at night in the dark in my room. So I'm reading it now in the daytime instead, just in smaller chunks when it's light. I'm not brave enough to read it in the dark. So Maggie Holt is used to such questions. 25 years ago, she and her parents, Ewan and Jess, moved into a rambling Victorian estate called Bainbury Hall. I mean, straight away, you had me at rambling Victorian estate. What more do you need from a book? They spent 3 weeks there before fleeing in the dead of night, an ordeal that Ewan later recounted in a memoir called The House of Horrors. This tale of ghostly happenings and encounters with malevolent spirits became a worldwide phenomenon. Now Maggie has inherited Bainbury Hall after her father's death. She was too young to remember any of the events mentioned in her father's book, but she doesn't believe a word of it. Ghosts, after all, don't exist. But when she returns to Bainbury Hall to prepare it for sale, her homecoming is anything but warm. People from the pages of her father's book lurk in the shadows, and locals aren't thrilled that their small town has been made infamous. Even more unnerving is Bainbury Hall itself, a place that hints of dark deeds and unexplained happenings. As the days pass, Maggie begins to believe that what her father wrote was more fact than fiction, that either way someone or something doesn't want her here, and that she might be in danger all over again. Now, to me, this sounds very much like if you've watched the TV series of The Haunting of Hill House, this sounds like it's kind of very similar to that, and I absolutely loved that series. So I'm really, really looking forward to finishing this book and seeing how it goes. I think it's going to be another one that I just keep reading because I can't put it down. Now, the next book that I have read just a very small part of, I've not got very far through it at all, is this one, Enchantment. This one's by Catherine May. This isn't a fiction book, this is a factual book. And again, I'll just read you the inside of the cover because it does a much better job than I can do. So feeling bone tired, anxious and overwhelmed by the rolling news cycle and the pandemic age, Catherine May seeks to unravel the threads of a life wound too tightly. Could there be another way to live? One that feels more meaningful, more grounded in the places beneath our feet. One that would allow us to feel more connected, more rested and at ease, even as the seismic changes unfold on the planet. Craving a different path, May explores the restorative properties of the natural world and begins to rekindle her sense of wonder. It's a journey that takes her from sacred wells to moors, from cradling seas to starfalls. Through deliberate attention and ritual, she finds nourishment and more hopeful relationships with the world around her. Enchantment is an invitation to each of us to experience life in all its sensual complexity and to find the beauty waiting for us there. I'm sure we're all feeling this after, everything that went on with the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything else, that we're more and more, and life, and how busy life is these days as well, and how we're just becoming more and more disconnected from nature and the natural world. I know that as someone that's a real nature lover and a real nature person, I am way more disconnected now than I've ever been. So I think that this book is going to be a really good one to read, to get that sense of calm and that sense of wanting to reconnect back again. And then hopefully it will encourage me to get out more again and more into nature, and to, a bit of tree hugging. Nothing wrong with a bit of tree hugging. It's really, really good for you. The next one is one that I read a few weeks ago, and I know I'm very well aware that I'm very, very late to this party. Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing was brilliant. I've really, really enjoyed it. So now I'm waiting for the second one to come out on either the Kindle deal or in paperback, so I can get that one and carry on the story. This is a fantasy. It's about dragons. It's about dragon riders. If when you were younger, or even now, you enjoyed How to Train Your Dragon, this is the adult version of that. So Violet Sorrengail expected to live a quiet life surrounded by books until she was forced into the world's deadliest training ground. Now she must fight to join the army's elite dragon riders, but dragons don't choose fragile riders. They incinerate them. And when your body breaks as easily as Violet's does, death is only a heartbeat away. Many would kill Violet to better their own chances of success, and the rest would kill her simply because of her last name, including the ruthless Xaden Riorson, her family's greatest enemy. With the odds stacked against her, Violet must use every edge her wits can give her just to see the next sunrise. Because once you enter Basgarth War College, there are only two ways out: graduate or die. It was amazing. I really, really enjoyed this. Another one that I want to get around to reading this summer is this one, Jenny Colgan, The Bookshop on the Shore. And that's because absolutely ages ago, a few years ago now, I read The Bookshop on the Corner and I enjoyed it. I'm not the biggest fan of these sort of summer read type books, but they are really good for putting in between the heavier, more spooky, more intense ones. So if I've read something that's particularly spooky or intense, then I'll stick one of these nice sort of easy summer reading ones in between. This one says, escape to the Scottish Highlands where the tiny bookshop perches on the edge of a loch. I mean, that sounds idyllic to start with. So Zoe is a single mother struggling to cope alone in London. Her little boy Harry is the light of her life but refuses to speak, and the landlord has just raised the rent on her flat. So when the opportunity arises to move to Scotland and help run a bookshop, Zoe leaps at it. Who wouldn't, quite frankly? A small village in the Highlands sounds like the escape she and Harry desperately need. Yet the owner, Ramsay, is moody and distanced, and soon Zoe wonders if she's made the right decision. But Harry has found his first real friend, and the beauty of the loch is irresistible. If only Ramsay would be a little more approachable. So, I mean, it sounds like this is set in a really idyllic location, and she's going to be running a bookshop. I love books, running a bookshop. So I am looking forward to reading this one and think it'll be a really nice, relaxing little read. The next one is this one, The Cloisters by Katie Hayes. Now, I was going to read this one later on in the year because it's more dark academia, but I've heard recently that it's set, although it's dark academia, it's set in the summertime. So I figure this would be a great way to get down some of my autumn reads, but also still stay seasonal with my reading. So this one is The Secret History meets Ninth House. The discovery of a mysterious tarot deck lays bare shocking secrets within a close-knit circle of researchers in New York's famed Met Cloisters Museum. So Anne Stillwell arrives in New York City, hoping to spend her summer working at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Instead, she's assigned to the Cloisters, a Gothic museum and garden renowned for its collection of medieval and Renaissance art. It sounds like a great place to be. Drawn into a circle of charismatic but enigmatic researchers, Anne, happy to indulge some of their more outlandish theories, including the museum's curator who is fixed on tarot and the real possibility of predicting the future. But when Anne discovers a mysterious, once-thought lost deck of 15th century Italian tarot cards, she finds herself at the centre of a dangerous game of power, toxic friendship and ambition. And as the game being played with the cloisters spirals out of control, Anne must decide who to trust. The last one that I want to read this summer is this one, Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels. Now, I did start to read this one last summer, and I don't know why I didn't continue. I think at the time I bought a new book that I wanted to read more, and I went on to that, and then I just completely forgot that I was reading it. So I do really want to get back to this one. I will start from the beginning though, because there's no way that I'm going to remember from last year everything that I read. It's described as Bridgerton meets Peaky Blinders. So that gives you some idea of kind of the genre of it. The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels are no ordinary women. Pirates, thieves, and ne'er-do-wells, these ladies spend their days pickpocketing and blackmailing their way around the country, all before afternoon tea. But when Lady Cecilia Bassingthwaighte, try saying that a few times, meets Ned Lightbourne, her world is set to change forever. Because he's a paid assassin and she's his next hit. Yet when he lays eyes on the feisty, beautiful Cecilia, he's faced with a conundrum. Does he kill her or fall in love with her? Bridgerton meets Peaky Blinders in this swashbuckling tale of scoundrels and society, crime and crumpets, as these enemies turn allies and might just fall in love along the way. So, I mean, that sounds like a really, really fun read. It's something that I am actually really looking forward to. And I've got the next book in the series as well on my Kindle. So as soon as I've read this one, I can go over to the one that follows it. It was a bit chaotic and wittering, but I hope you found something there that you might enjoy too. And please, if you've got anything that you think that I'll enjoy, any books that you think I'll enjoy reading, please do let me know so that I can look for those when they come up on the Kindle deals or look for them in the charity shops. Thank you for spending time with me today, sitting here curled up on the sofa as if it's the middle of winter, and I shall see you again next time. Bye for now.